2024 was an incredible year for tracks and MX bikes, and today we're going to be going through my personal favorites. We got Supercross tracks, we got outdoor tracks, and we even have freeride or freestyle tracks. Lock it in, there's over 20 tracks in this list. Let's get started. Let's start things off with my favorite MXGP tracks, and first up we have Sweden. Sweden is just amazing. I love the vibe. Every year these tracks look so good. The Swedish environment is very Swedish, you know. I don't really know what to say other than it's beautiful, and the Swedish track always seems to play really well in the game, and it just flows well. It's ruddy and difficult, but not so difficult where I'm sad when I play it, and it's just a great balance. And then my other favorite MXGP track is absolutely Argentina. And I may have some bias here, okay, boys? I've done really well at this track. When it dropped, I almost got a podium. I did crash, but almost counts in this for me. And then when we did the Guam qualifier, I even got a P2 against some very stacked competition. I have a ton of laps on this track, and I think it just races really good. And it's a great track for kind of all skill levels, just really fun all around. Before we move on to the next tracks, let's talk about today's sponsor, which is the Collective Experience. If you're looking for the best VIP experience in Supercross or motocross, this is the place to go. And it's not just because they offer Friday access to the pits or all-day pit access on Saturday, but the thing I like most about the Collective Experience is that 100% of the proceeds go directly to supporting privateer riders. If you're a super fan and you want to hang out with maybe Cade Clayson in between races, or maybe you want to have lunch with Logan Carno, the Collective Experience is hands down the program for you. Make sure you guys use code REAPERDOC25 to save on your custom fan experience. Another cool thing, if you guys are looking to get involved with the sport through an internship somehow, they offer internship packages, which are really cool, and they have had over 80% of their interns directly translate into the real life market. I'll make sure to put all of their information down in the description. Be sure to head over there. Now let's take a look at some of my favorite outdoor tracks. And first off, we have an absolute banger by Punker Jeffy, who you're going to see a few times in this video, and that is, of course, Temecula Creek. Temecula Creek is just, man, it's good. It's very flowy. It's a long track, and sometimes long tracks are hard to handle, brother, and it's not very enjoyable, but this one is just a good time all the way around. It's very flowy. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's a very interesting take, you know, just kind of, it kind of reminds me of Pelster's The Hills, but then in track form, where it's just kind of a track nestled back in the SoCal hills, and it is just wonderful. Now, I don't usually include an RD track in these videos because I don't like to just sound like I'm pushing my stuff over and over again, but I do have to say this Alive Compound is a very special track to me. It was the track that I collaborated with Aaron Plessinger, Justin Bogle, and Pierce Brown on, and it was just really a cool experience and created some friendships through that, and kind of a never been done, brought the IRL guys into the gaming world, and just is really special to me. I really enjoy it, and the track rips too. Keewan did an incredible job. Next up, we have one of the most underrated tracks of 2024 in my opinion, and that is going to be Backwoods by King. Backwoods is extremely flowy, extremely fast, and really I don't understand why this track didn't get as much hype as some of the other tracks. This is one of King's best tracks of the year, honestly best tracks he's ever made. It flows really well. I love the skybox. It looks great. It's challenging, but it's a King track, you know, and so you get that flowy fun kind of vibe that you just can't find with anybody else's tracks, and I think he absolutely nailed this one. And somebody else that nailed their track is Erax, and this came out late in the year. This was a December drop, I'm pretty sure, and this is the MNSR Raceway, and man, this was free on mods, and Erax just absolutely killed it. It's a very challenging track. It's pretty, you know, I don't know, the bumps are just built the right way, brother, where it's going to challenge you and kick you around, and you kind of have to think about what you're doing, but it's also a track that you can easily get around on and have some fun. and I just think it's a very special free track, and he put a lot of effort into it. Clearly, visually, it's great. This is absolutely a shop-worthy track that he dropped for free, and so that's pretty cool. Next up, we have one of my good friends, Smokesta's track, Windy Acres. Now, I'm putting this track on there for a couple reasons. It rides good, it plays great, but most importantly, I'm putting this track on here because of Smokesta's progression from a track creator's perspective. When he started versus this track, his visuals and just the way the track rides is actually insane, and he's improved so much. Now, we are gonna go back to another Punker Jeffy track, and of course, we have to put Across the Sea on here. This track is an absolute staple in the community now. One of the most flowy and fun sand tracks in the game, and honestly just visually appealing tracks. It's very bright, but like not so bright it hurts your eyes. Got that turquoise out there. It kind of just makes me want to go on vacation. Dude, I've never been to like a beach vacation as an adult, and watching this lap back really makes me want to do that. We're trying to go to Tahiti or something, you know. I don't even know where Tahiti is. And then now we're gonna move on to 602 Raceway, which I also think is one of the most underrated tracks in the game. This is a track built by Kells in collaboration with Exhibit, and it's a Kells sand track, kind of put in that high desert Nevada kind of vibes. I think Arizona is what they were going for, which, you know, Nevada, Arizona, basically the same thing, really, depending on who you ask. And I think they absolutely nailed it. It feels so good. It's a very, again, kind of a longer track, and it's a sand track, and it's difficult, but when you can find a flow, I mean, it's a Kells sand track, boys. I don't really know, you know, what you're looking for, but this is it. You know, I don't know what it is, but this is the one. Next up, we have Shihi here. This is a great free track that, you know, short lap times, pretty easy, really fun, even more flowy. Just an excellent track for all skill levels. It's really fun to hot lap because it has short lap times, and I don't know, I just like hot lapping things. But for the beginners, the newer guys, is a great one to jump on. It's got some roughness, it's got some ruts, so you can practice that stuff, but it's also, you know, not an aerial track that is so difficult where you're just going to be sad playing the game and you're never going to want to play it again. Now we're going to go back to another Punker Jeffy track. I know, I think he gets Free Track Creator of the Year award. He must. But this is the OA by Punker Jeffy. Again, another sand track put in that desert with this just amazing environment. Now, I do like how he is kind of, I don't want to say getting away, but he is switching his style up and showing us what he can do with the release of Temecula Creek, which I already showed, that he can make fun, flowy tracks in different environments. But he did go on a run, an incredible run of just sand tracks, and yeah, desert sand, white sand. You guys have seen the OA probably a million times, but it needed to be on this list because it's absolutely beautiful. And speaking of beautiful, we're talking about Checkers, and beautiful man that is. And this is his track, Whiptown. Again, I included this on the most underrated tracks of 2024. And I gotta say, I think I overlooked this one quite a bit and didn't really give it enough, you know, justice. And I went back and was trying a bunch of tracks for this video, and I came across this absolute gem. And it is just wonderful. It is so fun. He is so good at making a track flow, but also be challenging, but also whippy. And it's just got so many elements of this track that are just special and fun. And I'm always a sucker for Hangtown. I love Hangtown. Broke my back there IRL. Had a lot of fun doing it. It wasn't really that fun. It really sucked. But anyway, moving on to our next track, and that is going to be another King MX track, and that is going to be Wilderland. All right, Wilderland again is another track that was popular for a little while and then kind of fell off, and I'm really not sure why. Wilderland is absolutely incredible. I believe this was a free track as well that King put out, and it is another kind of longer outdoor track that just flows really well. It's a King MX track. You get that kind of hip-hoppity into ruts, kind of just good vibe. I like the kind of mountain stone environment that he gave, and I think that this absolutely needs to be on my favorites for the year. Let's talk about aerial tracks, and specifically 3 of my favorites. This is Paula. It's just wonderful. It was the season opener. It's got great vibes. It's just a W track. I could go on and on about aerial tracks, but I just want to show you a few just so you know, but you should probably pick all of them up. Next up, we have Redbud. Redbud is iconic. It's a beautiful track. It's very, very fast. It's got the leap. It's got nothing but good vibes, boys. Okay, Redbud is a certified banger every time it's built in the game, and this is no exception. And next up, I have Washougal, specifically because Washougal is just absolutely gorgeous. It blows my mind that this is the same game that I downloaded 3 or 4 years ago when I was turning laps on Forest and Club, and now look how beautiful it is. This is just incredible work from the aerial guys. And like I said, all of these tracks, all of the outdoor tracks were amazing, so make sure you go pick them up. Let's talk about Freeride and freestyle tracks now. And of course, you know I had to include The Hills by Pelster. This is a track that I've mentioned this track a few times, but it just has to be mentioned again. The scale, the detail, and the environment of this track is just completely next level. It is not a track, it is an experience, and it is something that I suggest you experience. Next up, we have Candyland by Suki, and this is just the iconic, absolutely iconic freestyle place that it's Nate and Suki all made famous through this insane house that you can see in the background there with just insane clips. It's just an incredible place. Next up, we have Rampage by K-Bolts, another just insane undertaking of creativity and detail. I don't even know where to start with this. It's just insane. It's so immersive and so difficult. And also, I don't know how I landed this jump. That was insane. But K-Bolts, all these guys killed it. There's a ton of other freestyle tracks you guys should check out if you're into it, because there's a lot of talented creators in this space. The 2024 Aerial Supercross series was one of my favorite series in MX bikes, and here are some of my favorite tracks. What you're seeing in the background is East Rutherford, and this track is just one of my favorites. Very ruddy, very challenging. The whoops were actually pretty easy on this track, but just an overall W. Another track that I'm totally not biased on because I did really well is Birmingham, and I actually didn't do that well. I just got a terrible start, was like dead last, and actually came back to a pretty good finish. I think I got 4th here, or maybe 6th, but I don't remember actually. I don't know why I like this track, but I do like the track itself. It's very fun. It's fun on a 250, it's fun on a 450. It's just kind of a good track for you to learn ruts on, learn scaling. It's a challenging one, but a challenging one in all the right ways, if that makes sense. And last, for the aerial tracks, we have A2. This is probably the best Supercross track ever in the game, in my opinion. The way that he built ruts, I think it's the most balanced Supercross track that there is. The beginning of the corners is smooth, the exit of the corners is rutted. I'm really hoping that for the 2025 season, this is how he builds the tracks. But yeah, I actually didn't do very well here. I didn't even qualify, to be honest. I was doing 250 and I tried to qualify on the 450 and I was pretty far off the pace. But nonetheless, incredible track, race as well, a lot of line choice, and it's just a great track. For the non-aerial Supercross tracks, I have to start things off with Sundown Supercross here. Very challenging track, but a free, fun, and flowy. Once you can figure it out, it's very, very enjoyable. I have done a lot of races on streams and stuff on this track, and it always seems to produce good racing, good battles, and you know, it's not too hard as far as like whoops in that sense, but it is a little bit challenging getting the timing figured out, especially towards the end of the lap. Those rhythms can be a bit tough, but once you figure out the scaling and everything, it's a great track, and there are multiple line options, and it's just kind of a vibe. Another track that was dropped very late in the year that did not get nearly as much love as I thought it should is Rev by Hell Machine. This is a little Supercross track set back in the woods here, and it looks like it's just off to the side of Swedish Summer Carnage, and it flows so good. It's Hell Machine, it's beautiful, the textures are great, it's really fun too, and I'm kind of bummed that it didn't get more love. It's also free, so I was surprised it didn't get more people playing it. It's very, very enjoyable, and it's a great flowing track, and pretty similar, I would bet, to the aerial scaling, because, you know, he is on the aerial team, so it's a good practice as well. Now, the entire DDC series is incredible, and just like the aerial tracks, I think I could put every single one of these DDC tracks on this list, but I'm gonna pick my all-time favorite, and that is round 2 here. And it is just a good combination of fast, big lines, technicality, just kind of an overall W. The whoops are really fun, not too difficult. I think if I was gonna give my favorite DDC track to another position, it may be round 1 or the newest round, New Orleans. But at the end of the day, they're all really, really good, and you should check out the DDC tracks because they're some of my favorite tracks ever in the game. And last but not least, we have SIRL by the boy Austin Crank. And this is a pretty challenging track, and also kind of another track I think got looked over a little bit. Not a lot of people rode this one, played this one, downloaded this one, but it is definitely worth your time. I think it's only $1 on the shop, and it is really, really fun. Anyway, that is my favorite tracks of the year, boys. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And I hope you guys have a blessed day. And huge shout out to the boys over at the Collective X for sponsoring the video again. Appreciate you guys so much.